Hello and welcome to How to Monetize That $1 Million Idea. This is one of four accelerated workshops specifically for the ladypreneur who is a female entrepreneur or a female in transition. And what we're going to focus on today is funnel dynamics. Now, that's not a word I made up myself. It actually is a very important word. And if you're a woman or a ladypreneur that's really focused on improving and growing her business, it's a concept, a strategy, and a method that you might want to look into because it'll help you move a little bit faster in that process. Now, a common focus for many ladypreneurs, though I've made this mistake myself and many entrepreneurs do, is to think about launching your first product as that big ticket to wealth. So in English, what I'm talking about is walking up to a group or individual and saying, hey, I have XYZ, it costs $900. Hey, I have XYZ, it costs $3,000. Now, this is the first time you've ever met this person or individual or group, and you feel in your mind that they're just going to meet you and just hand over their wallet, hand over their credit card without having any type of background information on you, without having been your customer before. It's a huge mistake. I've made it and many people do. You focus so much energy on releasing your product, service, ebook, program, or course, thinking it will make you rich, that you don't realize that the real profits are made at the back end. Now, just to take that idea a little bit further, I want to just give you some background on myself. My name is Marcus Carter. I am the Goal Mentor. In 2013, I became CEO of a company called My Ambition, Your Ambition. And my primary function is as a national speaker. I am an accredited, award-winning speaker through Toastmasters. Just for example, I'm also the director of the National Speakers Association located in Chicago. In addition to that, I am a published author. I have two published titles, You, Me, Him, and Her, and The Naked Truth under my belt. But my primary function is as a consultant, where I deal specifically with ladypreneurs on the idea of immediate revenue generation. I help you grow and expand your business. So again, bringing us back to the topic that we're going to discuss today, I like to get into the how, not so much as the what. You can find the what on Google, but I like to get into the how. So what exactly can you do to make this process of becoming a female entrepreneur or in invigorating yourself as a ladypreneur that much easier? Because first thing I tell everybody that I meet with is it's not easy. It's a jungle out there. That's the truest thing that I've ever heard, and truer words have never been spoken. So what we're going to talk about today, funnel dynamics, is a great way. To me, it's the only way to kind of make sense of this jungle and this labyrinth that we call the real world that we're trying to make a living in. Now, funnel dynamics more or less describes the relationship that you have with pretty much every individual and in every group that you come in contact with, and it kind of teaches you a way to categorize this. So, to put that idea in English, I want you to think about every single person that you came in contact with over the last 7 days. At the gas station, if you have children, you're dropping them off at school, their teachers, if you went to the grocery store, if you went to a networking event, if you went to visit family members, I want you to think about every single person that you came in contact with. Now, as you go further with that idea, these numbers just start to jump and jump and jump because you start thinking about people that you forgot that you met this week. You're like, oh, I did run into a friend of mine from high school. I did run into an ex-boyfriend. I did spend 15 minutes talking to my student's teacher. I did spend a few minutes on Facebook chatting up with somebody, an old college friend or maybe a sorority member, so on and so forth. But you talk to a lot of people. You come in contact with a lot of people. Some of these people that you told about your business, some of them you invited them to do business with you and they may become your customers. Some of them you didn't. Some of them you told and it wasn't the right time. Some people you told about your business and they just said no. Some people you didn't tell about your business at all. But when we start talking about funnel dynamics, if you just use that as a small representation, you start to think what to do with those people. What do you do with them? What do you do with that person that you meet at the grocery store that thinks what you do is really, really nice? If you bake, what do you do with that person that you meet at a Dunkin' Donuts and you tell them, okay, hey, I make brownies, but they're already buying a donut, but you want to meet them later. So when you start talking about funnel dynamics, I'm going to give you a way to make all of these interactions make sense and make all of them play out in a positive way when it comes to your business, getting down to the nitty gritty. Most important thing, how do you monetize all these relationships? So let's make all of that make sense. What we're going to talk about in funnel dynamics, first and foremost, we're going to talk about an introduction to a sales funnel, which is what we're talking about. I'm not reinventing the wheel with what I'm talking to you about. I'm just going to make it make sense for you and your business today. I'm going to talk about how to craft a sales funnel, how to take your business, whatever business it is, even if it's a not-for-profit, and create a sales funnel. I'm going to talk about product versus customer funnels, which is one type, and then the front end versus your back end funnel. Now, they all kind of incorporate one funnel, but they're all different aspects of it. And then lastly, I'm going to talk to you about how to test your funnel for long-term success. To really make the money that you would like to make, you need to be in this for the long term. Now, the beauty of that is you picked your business. This isn't like a 9 to 5 where you say, okay, I got bills to pay, so I need to take whatever's available. When you started your business, hopefully you did what you had a passion for. So it should make it easier when we start talking about long-term aspects of it. Hopefully, this is something that you can retire from sooner rather than later. Hopefully, this is something where you start to realize and you really start to embrace a life of abundance, which all of us may want. Not talking about material things, but I'm just talking about being able to live comfortably based on the hard work that you put in with your business and all the goods you do for others with your goods, your products, and your services. Now, just to give you an idea, a sales funnel describes the sales process from initial contact to final sale. So when we're talking about your sales funnel, again, we're talking about that person you meet at the gas station, that person that you may even just wave to in traffic, that person you may be sitting next to when you're taking the train, that initial meeting to the final time that you and that person have a sales transaction. So it tells you what to do in between, how to keep them categorized, how to keep them organized, which makes your business run that much smoother and efficient. Now, this is important for you, the ladypreneur, because a lot of us are one person operations. So it's very important that we have organizations because we already spend too much time not doing what we started out wanting to do. A lot of us are graphic designers in our business. Uh, we're the managers. We do the networking. We make all the phone calls. We do the accounting. We're our own legal department. So we wear all these different hats within our business, not to mention you, the ladypreneur, who may also be a girlfriend, a spouse, a mother, have another 9 to 5, part of a church community, part of maybe a college fraternity that you're still involved with. So you have all these different dynamics in your life, not to mention your business. So it's very important, and it can be very lucrative for you to be able to organize this process. Now, how do I like to run my webinars? First and foremost, I know time is of the essence, and you do not have time to sit and listen to something that you can't immediately apply to your business. So I'm going to structure this webinar in a series of questions so we can get the questions out there, the nuts and bolts, the meat, and then we answer them, and then hopefully it's something that you can immediately apply to your business. So let's get started. So how does all this information play out? Can play out in the form of a question. Hey, I'm a ladypreneur, and currently my business consists of me, myself, and I. Now, a sales funnel sounds like something a large company might use. So what does a sales funnel have to do with me? Very, very important question. And hopefully that's the question you're listening to, because you're not the person that just listens to anybody that walks up to you and say, hey, I can take your business to the next level. I like to earn mine. So to answer that question, you're 100% correct. The sales funnel is something that the large companies use. Apple uses it. Amazon uses it. Walmart uses it, McDonald's uses it. And that's a situation where if you're a ladypreneur and you're running your own business, why wouldn't you want to do what McDonald's does? Why wouldn't you want to do what Apple does? These are multi-billion dollar companies, and how they organize and keep their infrastructure intact is by using a sales funnel. Now, let me paint the picture of a sales funnel so you understand what I'm talking about. Because it's not that far fetched from what you're looking at right now. There's a funnel which has a wide top, and it gets smaller as you go through to the point where at the bottom it's very, very skinny. Now, in your eyes, what I want you to envision is I want you to envision all those people that you're making these first interactions with that I asked you about in the past week. All of those people are going to be at the top of your funnel. All right. At the bottom of your funnel, at the bottom of your funnel is your large ticket items. That's where you have your $1,000 products. That's where you have your $4,500 coaching program. That's where you're at the point where you sold 1,000. If you bake, if you sold 1,000 of your products, if you're an author, if you sold 1,000 books, so whatever it is that signifies a large ticket item for you, be it volume wise or be it cost wise, that's what's at the bottom of your funnel. So when we're talking about the top of your funnel to the bottom of your funnel, we're talking about all those interactions that you have at the top. We're talking about those entry level products or just that entry level interaction, how you sift through and figure out if they're going to get to the bottom. So when you ask them to attend your $4,500 workshop, that isn't the first time that you've had a chance to embrace that interaction of you giving them something and them giving you something. And that's very, very important because, again, we don't want to get into the place where you're walking up to this person you just met and asking them to spend $3,000 with you. You want that to be something that they've been trained to do. They believe in you. They got a chance to experience you, know your products, know your expertise, and know ultimately that you solve a problem for them, which is the most important thing. So when you ask them for $3,000, they don't bat an eye because they know they're probably going to get $6,000 worth of value. So that starts at the top of the funnel. Well, we start introducing them to that concept, and then by the end, we get them to the bottom of that funnel where we've already positioned ourselves for profit. And keep that word in your mind, positioned for profit. All right. Now, it's important. I'm just going to give you a basic definition on what a sales funnel is and what a sales funnel does. All right. A sales funnel is simply how you turn your leads into customers. Now, certain parts of this you can write down, but I'm also going to give you a handout that can accompany this webinar. It's a plan that allows someone to become aware of your company, learn about it, and make a decision on whether or not to buy. It's about capturing attention, filtering, and then isolating the customers with who you should be spending most of your time. Now, that last part is very, very important. What a sales funnel allows you to do is not spend time with people that are not going to get to the bottom of your funnel where you can make the money that you need to make. I'm talking about that person where you tell them, okay, what I have costs $50, and they're like, dang, that's a lot of money. You don't need to spend a lot of time with them. What you kind of need to do is filter those people out, and you need to spend more time with people that can see a direct correlation with your product and see how it improves their life. And they're okay spending that amount of money. Those people need to be taken care of. Those people that want to pick holes at what it is you do, they don't need your time and attention because they're not going to get you to your financial goals. Now, again, when we're talking about the idea of a sales funnel and why it's important, the number one fact is as a ladypreneur, you're juggling so many things. There are so many other things going on, not just in your business, but in your life in general, that it's very, very important that you be able to organize this process into something that's very, very manageable. So you're not juggling a business, a baby, a husband, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, your real life. Real life happens, and you have to juggle these things. So it's important that you're able to organize the efforts when it comes to your business to make sure that you're running as efficiently as possible and as profitable as possible. So what happens in the sales funnel? Again, I want to put all of these things in English. These are more or less business economic principles that I'm trying to put in English as best as I know possible. At the top, and I'm looking at the upside down triangle, to your left, at the top of your sales funnel is always going to be awareness. How this translates to you, this may be lead generation. This may be how me and you met. This may be you getting a business card or you getting an email address or again, meeting somebody in the grocery store. You want to increase awareness as much as possible. And the top of your funnel will also be referred to as your front end. This is how you meet people. And you're going to need to be as creative as possible because you want to stimulate that part as much as possible. Because again, we make our money at the bottom of the sales funnel, which can be called your back end. So the way to increase the amount of money that you make at the back end or at the bottom of your sales funnel is to send as many people as you possibly can through the top or through the front end of your sales funnel. So that starts with awareness, letting as many people know as possible about what it is you do, your product, and your service. All right. Once they are aware to your business, they will then self-select. Again, remember that word. They will self-select and they will make themselves leads. Because if you make them aware of your business and it spikes interest in them, they'll become a lead. They'll say, hey, that sounds kind of interesting to me. Hey, I saw your Facebook post. Or, hey, I didn't know you do that. I want to hear more about it. Or, hey, I saw your ad in the paper. I want to hear more about it. I saw your YouTube video. I want to hear more about it. That person is now a lead. All right. Once they become a lead, you need to qualify them. Now, if you had time, you could talk to every single person that had a little bit of interest about your business, but unfortunately, you don't. So, what you might want to do at this point in time is you want to, as they go from lead to prospect, you want to make sure that the stimuli and the content that you're giving them at this time, that it qualifies them on their own. Give you an example. When I do my self-hosted introductory events, I call those events um, three mistakes that ladypreneurs make that don't allow them to reach the success that they like in their business. So I'm going to say that one more time, and then I'm going to explain to you why that's important. Three mistakes that ladypreneurs make that don't allow them to reach the success that they want in their business. Now, the title seems simple enough, but if you pay attention to the content, just look at how the words are arranged, you get something out of that. First, I identified who I was talking to. I said ladypreneurs. So, the only way that you're going to pay attention to that title is if you feel like you're a ladypreneur. Secondly, I said three mistakes. So, again, the only way that you're going to pay attention to that title is if you're not where you like to be. If you feel like you might be making a mistake and you feel like I might be able to have the answer. Lastly, if you look at the subject of it, is mistakes you make that don't allow you to get to the success you'd like to get to. So we're already implying, just by the title, we're implying that you are a ladypreneur and that you're not going to be where you would like to be in your business. So just in a simple title that I put on my stimuli as you go from lead to prospect, I know when we meet and we actually talk that you're an ideal client. And I did that with the title. I didn't have to sit down and talk with you with 30 minutes. I didn't have to give you a questionnaire. I didn't have to run your credit. I didn't have to do anything. I just put a title out there that made it so clear and so specific that the only people that would respond to that title are my ideal clients. And that's where you take people from lead to prospect. Because once somebody becomes a prospect, that's when they deserve my time and attention because I know that I can solve a potential problem in their life. And if I'm clear on illustrating how I can do that, that's where I'll be handsomely compensated to what I feel like I deserve for my products and services. This is going to be an important part in your business. Letting people know, the right people, the ideal people, your target audience, letting them know that you can solve a particular problem and that you do that for compensation. How well you do that will determine how you're compensated. Now, finally, once somebody is a prospect, it's up to you to close the deal. You need to turn that person from a prospect to a customer, and it is a difference. A customer has said, made a decision, opted in, decided to do business with you. All right. So I've just walked you through the four basic parts of a sales funnel. Now, within that one sales funnel, the red awareness, the yellow leads, the blue prospects, the green sales, you want that process to go over and over and over again, which is another sales funnel in itself, because that process may take place when I want you to buy a book. That process may take place when I want you to sign up for my boot camp. But ultimately, I want you to get to a point where you're signing up for my weekend retreat. So that sales funnel process is happening over and over and over again. Now, the beauty of it is, once you initially walk somebody through your sales funnel, you can skip parts. So if I've already dealt with you, I don't have to do the awareness part the second time I deal with you. I don't have to do the lead part. I can kind of start at prospects, and it's kind of up to me, again, to convey meaning to you to make you want to, again, purchase from me. So that's the beauty of a sales funnel, is that from the first time you meet somebody, once somebody enters your sales funnel, you're just walking them through part by part, and it gets easier. It gets easier. Okay. If you decide to spend $5 with me, I have an easier time getting you to spend 10. If you decide to spend $100 with me initially, I have an easier time when I come back and I say, okay, the next product, where we should go from here, is going to solve more of a problem for you, but this one costs 1,000. If you have that memory in your head that I can help you and I do this and it works, you'll find a way to make sure that I'm taken care of. And this is where you would like to be with your customers and clients. Going to the right, we're going to look at these blue arrows going down. And again, this kind of goes through the process. First and foremost is brand, making sure that they're aware of what it is you do, what you stand for, and how it can help them. Nextly, you're creating products that fit the solutions that you provide for your customers and clients. Nextly, you're creating the content. How does that take place? Is that a webinar? Is it a teleseminar? Is it a product? Is it a coaching platform? Is it a class? Creating the content that makes it easy for the customers and clients to consume what it is you have. And nextly, you want to continue to build on that base. Every single customer is valuable, especially the customer that has already decided to do business with you. You want to continue to build upon that relationship. Now, nextly, going over to your right, how this happens when you're talking about brand, you're talking about your marketing activities. None of us really get into this to be expert marketers and experts at promotion. I just happen to have a background in it, and even I don't like it. But it can be helpful and is an essential part. If you don't think that you're in business to sell something, you need to get out now. Because if you're not understanding that the key to your business is making sure that more and more people know about it, then you're kind of doing the wrong thing. So when you're talking about awareness, when you're talking about brand, you're talking about marketing. Point blank period. All right. The next way, when you're talking about create, the way that you can do that, you want people to opt in. And this is in the form of squeeze pages, because a lot of things happen online. The physical sense of that would be, hey, I met somebody at a grocery store. If you want to hear more about what I do, why don't you come out to XYZ? You do that online, you do that in person. What you're asking a person to do is opt in, to decide to say, I want to hear more about what you do. I'm going to give you my time and attention. They're opting in to what it is you offer. Next, you want to pay attention to being able to follow up. A lot of times this is going to happen over email, and this is going to happen over your products or services, and you being able to make what you do that much more enticing for what it is that they want, or what it is the solution is you provide in their life. And lastly, you want to talk about retention, how to build on that experience to where you can maximize every single customer that you have. Ooh, okay, Marcus, you have my attention. I'm interested in possibly applying a sales funnel to my business. So how exactly do I do that? All right. Try my best not to get long-winded, but let's get into, okay, it makes sense to you. How do you do one for yourself? First and foremost, first and foremost, you want to be very, very clear on your process. Now, I don't mean the cookie cutter way. I mean in a very important way. You want to be very, very clear on what it is you do in your business. You want to know from A to Z why you're in it, what your end game is, so on and so forth. All right. The first stage in setting up the sales funnel, again, is understanding your sales process fully. Perhaps using a technique like flow charting, which is what I like to do. So when you first meet somebody, kind of role playing what happens next at every single event. If somebody meets you and they purchase, what happens? If somebody meets you and they don't purchase, what happens? What's the next step? What's the next step? What's the next step? What are you doing? While sales processes are often quite similar from company to company, there can be points of difference depending, for example, on the size of the order and the consequences to the client of making the wrong purchase decision. There needs to be steps within your business. There needs to be a process that happens. That's the only way. You do not want to start over every single time that you meet a customer. Uh, you don't want to charge one customer one price for the same thing and then charge another customer a different price. These things create problems. So you want to be very, very clear on your process. Brainstorm the sales process to make sure that it is correct and comprehensive. Make sure that it's to scale, because if you don't want to do this for the rest of your life, if you don't want to be the person that has to work more for yourself, you don't want to work 24 hours a day as an entrepreneur. The point of you doing this was create financial freedom so you don't have to work all the time. So if you don't create a process, something that's to scale, you're going to do that all the time. So it has to be comprehensive, because eventually you want to be able to have people work for you. So you need to have a system that's pretty set in stone. Now, next, you want to label everything. From this, identify the key sequential steps in the sales process, and from these, create status codes. Try to keep these to a reasonably small number. Otherwise, reporting will be arduous and it will be difficult to see meaningful patterns within the data. To me, this is as simple as saying, okay, when I meet a person in the grocery store, are they hot, cold, or lukewarm? And it can take on a lot of different forms depending on your business. It could be a 1, a 2, and a 3. It could be CSC or CSA or CSB, whatever you come up with in your business, being able to know where each person is. All right. So when you first meet a person, for me, that they may be cold. If what I offer and I tell them what I do and they're like, sounds great, not right now. They may be cold. Now that doesn't mean I don't talk to that person again. I just have a particular process that people that I deem cold that they go through. They may get a email from me every 6 weeks. All right. Versus if I meet somebody that's lukewarm. Marcus, I'm not quite a ladypreneur right now. I'm thinking about starting a business maybe in about 6 months. Okay, I have something there. That person is 6 months away from potentially starting a business. Maybe if I could tell them about what I do, they may be 1 month away. Or maybe I can just be their friend during those 6 months. So that person goes through a different part of my funnel. And then I might meet somebody that's hot. They may say, oh, you do boot camps that can help me grow and expand my business. I want to know about that right now. And they may go through a different part of my funnel. Me and those people may be on the phone tomorrow. We may meet for coffee in 2 days. So being able to sequence lets you know where people are in your funnel, which is very, very important, because again, that's organization and you know how to treat people. And that also, I'm going to invite you to another word, maybe a word you should write down. It's called automation. That's being to automate this process. If I know what I'm saying to every single person that I call cold, and if that's in the form of an email, all I have to do is press send. I don't have to rewrite that email over and over again. If I know exactly what I'm doing with every single person that I deem hot, that makes it easier and it's organized. I know on Tuesdays, that's when I meet people that I deem hot. This is the email that people that I deem hot get. This is the conversation that we have. This is what they're charged, so on and so forth. Knowing that process, having sequences to it makes your life a lot easier, because you begin to automate your process. Then I can spend more time actually speaking. I can spend more time creating webinars than I do actually networking and marketing and writing emails, so on and so forth. Now, lastly, you want to classify your prospects by the status codes that you've identified. Now, this will be much easier if you have a sales contact management system, and I'll talk about that later, or I talk about that in depth in my boot camps. And if people are disciplined about keeping this updated, even better if there's a sales workflow in place so that as a key task are performed, status codes are updated automatically. So finally, you want to get to the point where you work out the number of prospects of each status and calculate the change since last month. Again, let's put that in English. How many people from last month to this month went from cold to lukewarm? How many people went from lukewarm to hot? So then I'm able to now look back at my business and I can actually analyze. And this is what real businesses do. Apple says I sold 1 million iPhones last month and this month only sold 500,000. What the hell is going on? Or they say last month I sold 200,000 iPads and this month I sold 1 million. What did we do right? So when you're able to see how many people went from cold to lukewarm, how many people went from hot to cold, within your funnel, you're now able to make real business decisions in real time that really affect your bottom line, that really affect your account balance. Now, that's a three-part system that we went over in 5 minutes that literally should change your business today, like right now. If you start looking at your customers and clients, if you start looking at everybody that you come in contact with, and you're able to organize them in this way, you know which way to take your business. Should you be spending more time on Facebook? Should you be spending more time at networking events? Should you be spending more time coming up with self-hosted introductory events? Should maybe you do free trials? This will let you know what to do based on where people are in your current funnel and being able to watch this information and where it goes month to month or year to year, so on and so forth. Now let me give you an example of one. And I had to guesstimate on the products within this funnel because we all do different things. So I tried to go as across the board as I possibly could, touching as many professions as I possibly could. Now, looking at this sales funnel that we're looking at right now, at the top in orange, you see a 1995 ebook. Uh, the next level would be a $97 CD video series. The next step would be a monthly subscription series, $19.95 a month. The next one would be a live boot camp where a person charges anywhere from just under $1,000 to about 3 grand. And finally, you got small group private coaching where somebody may charge $3,000 or $10,000. Now, again, this may or may not represent directly your product funnel within your business, but I wanted to give you an example. Um, Again, to say if you're a coach, this might work perfectly, but say if you have an actual product, at the top of your funnel might just be um, one item. At the bottom of your funnel may be either your more expensive items, or that may be how many times a particular customer on a value scale. You may have one item at the top, and once you sell 1,000, that's what's at the bottom of your funnel. So different parts of your funnel are just different numbers when it comes to value. Either way it goes, you create your own funnel. You know what your entry level product is or what your entry level volume number is versus what your large ticket item or high value number is. Only you know that. This is just an example. So this doesn't mean that if you bake brownies that you need to go do a CD series. That doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that you need to do a small group private coaching. You don't need to have that in your product funnel. But you do need to have a funnel, period. Now, let's give a real life example. Now, the only thing that's going to be different on this page, in addition to the numbers there being there, obviously, is at the top. On top, ahead of 1995 ebook, on top of that was we skipped lead generation, how you met that person, how you got their email address, um, the one-on-one consultation, whatever that is, that comes first. Because typically when you meet somebody, it would behoove you not to ask them for money. Because if somebody gets in their head that every time you see them, you ask them for money, something's going to be bad. Typically what happens first is you're going to give them kind of a hint that you can solve a particular problem in their life. Now, if you're not sure what problem you solve for somebody, again, we'll talk further. Because even in talking about a sales funnel, we're assuming that you know the problem you solve for your ideal client. But when we're looking at this example of a sales funnel, I wanted to tell you the givens first. Now, to the right, all right, right next to the asterisk, I say the given is there are 500 distributed newsletters to a targeted audience. And I misspelled targeted. So you can vilify me for that later. I do have a college degree, so just give me a pass on that. So this is assuming that you sent out 500 newsletters to a targeted audience. So this isn't regular people. So again, we've assumed that you've already made that connection and it's clear that you solve a particular problem, because I don't want to give you the impression that if you send out 500 emails that things will automatically happen. Things may automatically happen if you send out 500 emails to your specific audience. Now, at the top of your funnel, you have the 1995 ebook. All right. That's not a high ticket item. You're going to have a lot easier getting somebody to spend $20 with you than you would at the bottom getting them to spend 3,000 to 10,000. All right. So if you send out 500 of these emails to your targeted audience, and let's say only 5% of the people responded, And they say, okay, I like enough about what you're talking about that I'm going to purchase a 1995 ebook. So at 5%, that meant 25 people bought an ebook out of 500 people. Not a bad number, slightly above the national average. The national average is only 1 to 3%. So you're actually doing better than the national average. All right. Now, from those people, those 5% of people, those 25 people out of 500 that buy your ebook, out of that, if you go down to the next one, the green, the CD video series, 14 of them, 56% said, I like this ebook so much, but it didn't solve every problem. I want to go further. I like how they present information to me. I like how they do business. I now want to buy the CD series. Now, as you see, the percentage goes up. You go from 5% out of 500 to 56% out of 25. Why does that happen? The person has already dealt with you at this point. They like how you present information and they feel like you can solve a problem. So your numbers will shoot up as you progress them through your sales funnel. So you go from a point where 25 out of 500 to now you're at 14 over 20 out of 25. So 14 people buy your $97 CD video series. Now, as we go to the next level of your funnel, which is a subscription service, which is $19.95 a month, and we're just assuming that they sign up for at least 90 days, 3 months. Out of the 14 people that bought the CD video series, 6 of those people, now your numbers go down again, but when you're talking about a subscription service, they're making a commitment to you. And again, this is an example. And I want to kind of walk you through the different levels that may be present in the sales funnel. You're asking them to make a commitment. So out of those 14 people, only 6 people do it. All right. At your next level, now you're starting to make some money for yourself. Out of the 6 people that continued through your funnel and bought the interview and bought the subscription with you, 2 of those people said, I want more and I want to go through a live boot camp. And for these boot camps, you may charge $1,000 to $3,000. All right. So 2 of them did. They decided I want to do that. Again, this is an example of a sales funnel. Now, finally, at the bottom, at the back end of your sales funnel, you have a high ticket item, something that you charge anywhere from $3,000 to $10,000 for. If in a volume sense, this may be okay when a person buys 500 pieces. When I sell 500 in a month of my particular product, that's the back end of your sales funnel. Now, in this case, that's 1 out of the 2 people that you progressed through each level said, okay, I'm willing to spend at least $3,000 with you. So now you get where I'm coming from when I say the important part of your sales funnel is at the back end. That's where you make the most money, and that's where it's the easiest to make the most money because hopefully these people have walked through each step of your sales funnel to where they're comfortable when you say, hey, what I'm doing costs $4,000. What I'm doing here costs $5,000. And they don't bat an eye because they've been through each step with you, getting value from what it is you do, becoming more comfortable with you, and being happy to share and compensate you because you solve a problem in their life. That's an example of a sales funnel, and then that's an example of how a sales funnel works. Now, just to play with numbers, let's just say if you wanted to know what that equates to, I would like to tell you. All right. If 25 out of 500 people bought a 1995 ebook with you, that would equate to about $500. If 14 of those 25 people went to the next level and bought a $97 CD video series from you, that would come out to about $1,400. If just 6 people signed up for 3 months for your subscription service, that would come to $360. If 2 people signed up for a live boot camp with you at just under $1,000 at $997, that would be $2,000. And if only 1 person went to the back end of your funnel and signed up, that would be $3,000. So let's say this took place over the course of a month, you would have made $7,260. So what we're looking at right now would have netted you $7,260. And that's when we get to a point where we're talking about being able to assess that information. Because now we need to make those numbers make sense, but now you have actual data to work off of. You can start asking yourself the question of, is $7,260 how much I wanted to make? That comes out to about 84 grand a year. Do I want to put out more than 500 targeted newsletters to start people through my funnel? How much money would I make if I put out 1,000? Is that how much money I want to make? Should I charge more for my boot camp? Should I change my products, so on and so forth? Once you know what different parts of your funnel are being represented and where you're good and where you're strong at, then you can start making the changes that get you to the financial goals that you would like to see. So instead of your business being this huge algebra equation and you're wondering where to go and what to do, now you know exactly what to do. I need to get more people buying my ebook. I need to get more people looking at my subscription service because my percentages go up when I go there. That makes it a lot easier to sleep at night and you know where things are coming from if you organize. And the sales funnel is a way to organize your business. Now, again, front end versus back end and when it comes to your sales funnel. Your front end is at the top. That's basically how you meet people. That's lead generation. That's the idea of whatever's at the front. For me, that may be a book. For me, that may my boot camp is at the top of my sales funnel. That's how I meet people, and that's how we make our introduction. To initiate that process, I do self-hosted introductory events similar to this webinar that you're on right now. This is completely free, but it's a way for you to get a chance to see what it is I do, how I do it, and how it may be able to solve a problem for you, the ladypreneur in your business. Now, if this is valuable to you, then you start walking through my sales funnel. Okay. Now, at the back end of my sales funnel, again, is a large so we can retreat. But I can't just walk up to you and say, hey, join my retreat. You say, who the hell are you? Who is this guy asking me to spend this much money? But if you started at the top and you got a chance to see how I do business and you see how I do business, how it can affect your business, how much money you're making now that you deal with me, you're a lot more likely to go through different parts of my funnel. And you get to the back end of my funnel. Now, again, the back end of your funnel is going to be stable. The front end, the top is not, because you're always going to be changing that in effort to find out how to get more people to the back end of your funnel. So do you need to give things away for free? Do you need to raise or lower prices at the front? These are going to happen at the front end. You're not going to do a lot of movement at the back. You're just always trying to get people to the back. All right. Now, we're making a huge assumption, but this is what it all boils down to. If you knew with reasonable consistency that your back end offers convert at certain rates, then you can go to work testing as many front end mechanisms as you can handle in order to drive as many leads through your funnel as possible. Let's put that in English. So, if you knew with reasonable consistency, if you knew that time and time again, this is what's going to happen, that your back end offers convert at certain rates. So that's saying, okay, if I can get people to my back end, I get 50% of it. So once I walk people through my funnel and I get to my $3,000 item, that I convert at 50%. If two people come, one person always buys. Then you kind of know how to alter things. You could go to work testing as many front end mechanisms as you can handle. So if you know at 50% buy in the back end, you can go to work on a front end because you know you're just trying to get people to the back end. I need 50%. I can close 50%. So if that's 8 people, that's 4. If that's 12 people, that's 6. If that's 20 people, that's 10. How many people do I need to send through the front to get to the back to make the money that I like to make? Period. What does that allow you to do? It allows you to kill two birds with one stone. When you use your sales funnel, what you're also able to do is get customer data. Your customers want to tell you how to sell them things. If you go up to somebody and they don't buy, they'll tell you why. They say, I'd love to take advantage of what you have, but I can't because I don't have the money right now. I love to take advantage of what you have, but I can't. I'm on my way to go pick up my kids. They'll tell you how to sell them. So if the person says they don't have enough money, maybe you need to look at how you price things. Maybe you need to look at how you convey your product. Maybe they don't understand what it is. If they say they need to go pick up their kids, maybe you need to alter. Like if it's a class you offer, you need to alter when you host that class, or when you have that event, or when you set up shop somewhere. Your customers will tell you how to sell them, and by establishing your sales funnel, you learn this. So you're able to kill two birds with one stone. Not only do you get to push people through your funnel, but you get to learn why they're not progressing, and you get to make the necessary changes. By you learning more about your customers or clients, you'll know more about what they want and what they don't want, and you'll ultimately make more money. So let's put it in black and white. What are the benefits of a sales funnel? First and foremost, they create cash on demand. At the top end, at the front end of your sales funnel are going to be low ticket items that should be pretty widespread. You know, the example I gave you was just for newsletters. Nothing beats being able to meet somebody in person. Hey, this is what I do, XYZ. Nice to meet you. Hey, why don't you take advantage of my book? Or why don't we have a one-on-one consultation? So you're able to create cash on demand while you're pushing people through your funnel. Next to that, you get to make the sales process more efficient, which is important because we do not have time as entrepreneurs to sit and walk every single customer by the hand. We need to have a process there so they can walk themselves and we can finally start making the money that we like to make. You get to make your sales process more predictable. All right. Again, if you assume that you know how you can close at the back end of your funnel, if you close 50% of the people on your high ticket item, you can make things more predictable because you know how many people you need to send in the front end to get to the back end. Now, again, if this stuff isn't clear, that's why I'm here, and I love to connect with you further to make sure all of these things make sense. But trust me, it's the way to go to make the money that you like to make. Next, it makes your marketing more easy. If you know where people are in your funnel and if you know the numbers behind how people get through your funnel, you know who to target. Do I need to go to these networking events? Do I need to set up a vendor booth at this type of event? You'll know those things if you pay attention to your process. And lastly, you'll free up time to do more of what you love to do. Stop spending time going to networking events, sending out emails, when what you really like to do is bake, and what you really like to do is write, and what you really like to do is speak, and what you really like to do is make your item. If you're in IT, if you're in insurance sales, if you're in network marketing, you need to spend more time doing that and less time trying to figure out something that you're not an expert in. So hold on, slow down, wait a minute. That's a lot of information to take in, but I understand the concept. I didn't know a simple funnel was the missing link. Can I make a donation and get started on my funnel? This is a free webinar, so you don't have to make a donation, but you can get started on your funnel. And I'd advise you to do that right now. All right. But just consider a few things before you do that. A, you can start to play with a certain number of things when it comes to getting your funnel where you like. In the example that we use in this webinar, we use 500, but we assume that you know 500 people within your target market. That's a huge assumption that a lot of people make. We all think that if I write a book, that people are going to magically know that I wrote it and come want to give me money out of their wallet. That does not happen, okay? The key is to allow people to self-select. Again, that's a word I told you about earlier. Your potential clients must see your message and choose themselves as being interested in your products and services. That doesn't happen by itself. Nextly, we're assuming that you know what each step of your funnel is. You know what each product is. We know what all your volume levels are that you would like to reach. That isn't always the case. And a lot of times we go into that blindly, or we have this information in our head and think it's just readily available and we think that makes us organized. It does not. To grow your business, people must want to give you their money, and no one will hand you their hard-earned money because of something that you can do. Trust me, nobody cares about that. You're like the little kid that says, it's always bothering the adult that says, look at me do a cartwheel. Look at me, look at me, look at me. And a lot of ladypreneurs walk into that hole of saying, I know how to do this. People should just love it and pay me for it. It doesn't work that way. Nobody cares. The only reason someone will give you their money is because they have a problem that they think that you can solve. That's it. That's the only reason somebody will give you some money. Now, lastly, the people that are perfect, ideal clients for you can be broken down into the following percentages. There's math to it. These aren't just my theories. 3% of the people you know are actively shopping. Those are your ideal clients. They are ready to buy something right now, and hopefully it's from you. 7% are open to you. They will give you a shot. 30% are aware for the future. They will give you a shot, but that time is not right now. 30% are unconscious. They don't know what the hell you do. And then 30% would just say no. Now, the problem that most of us do, and what turns our business into a math equation, is that we focus on the 3% that are actively shopping. The problem with that is, so does everybody else. So you got a whole industry. If you're a coach, you got a whole industry full of coaches. If you run a burger joint, all right. Again, it's like opening a McDonald's, open a burger joint next to a McDonald's. Makes no sense because you're all fighting for the same customer. The trick is to get to the 67%, the 7% that are open to you, the 30% that are aware for the future, the 30% that are unconscious. Nobody focuses on them. But those are 67% of the people that have not said no, they just don't have enough information. So you need to enlighten them. The number one reason most businesses fail is that they're in a dogfight for the tiny 3% of active shoppers. So learn to inform the huge 67% of your ideal clients as to why they need you and why they need you right now. That's how you make money right now. Lastly, when you're looking at your sales funnel, with if and when you create one, which should be like right after we're finished with this webinar, understand what your end game is. Now, I don't have a catchy, I don't have any catchy words that are gonna fall and run down the screen, but know why you're doing it. Are you in this to be a millionaire? If you're in this to be a millionaire, you need to have a millionaire type work ethic. And the problem is, a lot of us have like millionaire type dreams, but minimum wage work ethic. Be honest with yourself. When I started, I wanted to be a millionaire, but that's changed right now because I would literally have to work 24 hours to be a millionaire. I don't want to work 24 hours. I had to adjust what I wanted my end game to be based on what I wanted to do within my business. I want my children to not have to worry about things. I want them to have options. That changes things. I don't need to make $1 million for that to happen. So my end game changed, and then as a result, my sales funnel changed. So you need to be very clear on what it is you're in it for because that'll dictate how hard you need to go within your business. Don't say you want to be a millionaire and say I only want to work 4 hours a week. But don't be upset about working a 9 to 5, which is 8 hours a day, making $12 an hour, but then say I want to be a millionaire and work less. There is no magic pill. There is no secret formula. The only beauty that us as entrepreneurs and you as a ladypreneur gets to enjoy is that you're doing what you have a passion for. So the hard work shouldn't bother you as much because they say if you love what you do, you should do what you love. Now, for what I just explained to you, to put it in terms that the ladypreneur may understand, we're on the left side. We just put on the makeup. That isn't the key. You want to be on the right side, but you can't assume or skip the right side. You have to actually get somebody to propose and give you the dress. Now, the difference between the two is that the sales funnel is just the makeup, but you still need to position yourself for profit to start out with. That's already knowing what your product is, knowing what your ideal target market is, knowing what your end game is, knowing how to automate your business, and knowing how to get them to be able to get to you when they want to and when they're ready to pull their wallet out. We make huge assumptions that these things will automatically happen and they don't. Okay. Now, if I've been paying attention, you've made sure I know how important those factors are to growing my business because you can help me with them, right? Because if not, I'm more confused than when I got here. Of course, that's where you get to what I like to do and how I help ladypreneurs. I run a boot camp called Positioning for Profit that answers the questions that makes a sales funnel make sense. It shows you how to engage and be sought out by your ideal paying customers and clients. I didn't say how to solicit them. I didn't say how to sell to them. I said how to be sought out by them. So your ideal customers and clients are looking for you, and you're not running around looking like a desperate saleswoman trying to find them. In Positioning for Profit, I show you how to create the products and services they need that will pay you what you're worth. You solve a particular problem for them, you need to make products that clearly illustrate that, and they need to be priced at different levels so you can make the amount of money that you would like to make. In Positioning for Profit, I help you create these products that solve problems for your ideal clients. In Positioning for Profit, I show you how to automate your efforts so you spend more time doing what you love and less time marketing and promotion. I have over 7 years experience in upper level sales. So I don't mind marketing and promoting. A lot of you don't. You have expertise in other areas. Some of you have coaches, you're authors. You know things that I don't know. So instead of me trying to figure out something that you don't know, Let's automate your efforts in the things that you don't know so you spend more time doing things that you do know. It makes you look a lot smarter and you look like an expert to your customers and clients. So in positioning for profit, I show you how to automate the parts that I know about, that I can really help you with, that will grow and expand your business. And again, if you don't think that you're a salesperson, get out of town, because your job is to make sure that more people know about your business. So you're always marketing and you're always promoting. So what you want to do is automate that part if that's not your strong suit, and that's what I do in Positioning for Profit. Now, lastly, I show you how to map out a strategy to achieve your expectations that motivated you to start your business in the first place. I wanted to help people grow and expand their business based on my expertise that I picked up in corporate America. So that's what I like to do. So I created a business that allowed me to do that. I am now compensated for something that I like to do. You should be compensated for something that you like to do. And we're going to map out a strategy to help you achieve that. Now, I'm not cheap. I'll tell you that up front. But how I conduct positioning for profit, let me explain it to you. Bear with me for 1 second. And while I'm explaining it to you, I want you to hold one thought. Right now, you're not making the money you'd like to make. Inside of your head is a number. You would like to get to that number. I'm the difference between you getting to that number. What I charge from positioning for profit, the boot camp, is just under $2,000. It's 1997. So unless the number that you have in your head that you would like to get to make ultimately is 1997, I'm more than worth it. A lot of you would like to make an extra $1,000 a month, or 2,000, or 5,000, or maybe you like to make $100,000 next year. So for you to make $100,000 next year within your business, would a $2,000 investment make sense? Ask yourself that. So how we do positioning for profit is it's a 5-week multi-platform boot camp, which is a really cool big word. But what that means is there's 3 different tiers to it. There's a virtual component where I send you out a module, which is 30 to 40 minutes long, where there's an education portion. So I teach you how to identify your specific audience and how to engage them, where I teach you to mine yourself for whatever it is your specific problem is you solve, where I teach you how to automate your business, where I teach you how to have your customers self-select you so you don't seem like a desperate salesman. Now, after that virtual component, we then meet one-on-one. So we take what you learned in the module and we apply it to your business. There is no formula, and your business is unique and your business is special. So instead of me trying to force something down your throat, tell me what you would like to do and we can apply the principles to make them make sense for you. Now, lastly, there's a group component, which to me serves and has the most value. Talking to me every day is not going to get you where you need to be. But being able to hear from other ladypreneurs, hopefully in your same industry or maybe not, but just to be able to confer and hear the tips, advice, feedback from other female entrepreneurs that are going through the same thing is so valuable. They have the answers. And what you are allowed to do when you sign up for Positioning for Profit, I give you access to my network. So you'll be going through the boot camp with 3 or 4 other ladies, as well as having access to my whole network of other ladypreneurs, which right now is just over 5,000. Somebody has the answer to your question. Somebody is willing to mentor you. And not only that, you have customers right at an arm's length. So as you're cultivating and making sure that your business makes a lot of sense, there are people ready to take advantage of it. If you solve a problem, I'm going to hook you up with people that need their problem solved. Now, positioning for profit is about immediate revenue generation. I don't want to talk to you about things that are going to happen a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now. You're in this business because you need to make money. Save that for your business plan. I want to show you how to make money right now. So you're making money along the way while you're figuring these things out. I put my money where my mouth is. There's a ladypreneur celebration at the end of every single cohort where you get a chance to apply everything that we learned in the modules in a real life setting. I throw an actual event where you invite your actual ideal clients out and you can position whatever product that you have and you can make some money. So for a lot of women, they pay for their investment at this final event and it pays for itself. Again, you get 90-day access to me and my network. There's an opportunity for joint ventures. I work with a lot of my ladypreneurs. We throw shows together. We're talking about writing books, so on and so forth. So if you have a product and everything fits, let's borrow from each other's network and again, be able to make more money. You get access to the Positioning for Profit Facebook group. There's a private Facebook group where we get to engage each other, ask each other questions, and I give you first dibs, first access to all of my trainings and all of my workshops. Now, again, for $1,997, I take you from Pain Island to Pleasure Island. Now, for those of you that are like, okay, I love what you're talking about, but I don't have 5 weeks, I want to get it all in one day, there is an accelerated workshop where I go through all 5 modules all in one day. Now, the only caveat is that you don't get some of the perks that you would get under the 5 week multi-platform bootcamp process. You don't get the Ladypreneur celebration. You don't get the 90-day access to my network. You don't get the opportunity for joint ventures. And you don't get the access to the Facebook group. What you do get is the modules in one day. You get lunch and parking for wherever we decide to hold the workshop. And you do get the access to me. And you can do that for one day for $497. What you see in front of you is a testimonial from one of my favorite ladypreneurs, and she was kind enough to make a video to answer some of the questions that you have. Now, the thing is that this is not going to play on this webinar, so I'm going to attach her actual testimonial with the handout that I have so you can hear firsthand experience from somebody that's actually went through it. And trust me, she's brutally honest. I didn't pay her. She says what she actually thinks about what it is that I do. Yeah, something else that's fairly new. Something that I figured out is that all of my customers, one way or another, are attached to LinkedIn. And LinkedIn is a social media site that's different than Facebook, different than Twitter. It's different than Pinterest and Instagram. It's specifically for people that are in business that want to connect. And I started noticing that everybody that signed up for my boot camp was going through LinkedIn. So by me paying attention to my sales funnel, I said I needed to go back and I need to really hit LinkedIn. And I met a guy who was an expert at LinkedIn. So I said, what you're doing is great. Now, I love what you're doing for my business, but I would be able to offer so much value to the ladypreneurs I come in contact with if I can offer them a LinkedIn boot camp. So I said, what the hell? I asked him, can you help me out? And he said, you know what? Yes, I can. So in addition to all the great things that you get with the boot camp, you'll also get a LinkedIn boot camp included in the cost of the workshop. So you'll learn how to promote LinkedIn as a tool for creating and growing your online network. So this is the opportunity to make money while you sleep and to begin establishing and sustaining their professional brand. It's a 4-hour training, and you'll also get a complimentary profile review. Now, this is ran by an actual LinkedIn expert. He goes by the name of Howard Fox. He has his own business coaching company. He is fantastic. And this literally changed my business. And this boot camp is included in the cost of Positioning for Profit. So you get the 5-week boot camp with me, plus you'll get the LinkedIn boot camp as well. That by itself is a $699 value. That's what Howard charges for his boot camp. And you'll get that for free included in your $1997. You'll also get the other 3 parts of this workshop this webinar that you're watching right now. Right now, we're talking about funnel dynamics. You'll also get list building, handling customers, and going global. Each one kind of takes the ideas from Positioning for Profit to the next level. There's like a beginners, then an advanced. You'll get the advanced level built in. So it's kind of like you're getting 2 boot camps for the price of 1 boot camp plus the LinkedIn boot camp. That in itself is a $797 value, just to how to monetize that $1 million idea. People pay me handsomely just to talk about funnel dynamics. And wait till you see what I talk about when I show you how to build your list. So when we're talking about those 500 people you can talk to, I'll show you how to get those 500 people specifically. So 5-week multi-platform bootcamp, $1,997. If you want to do it all in one day because you're high speed, you can do that for $497. And since I know how long-winded I can be, for you that really wanted to pay attention to your business and took the time to stay all the way through on this webinar, let's throw those prices out. How about this? How about I cut everything just about 50%? So if you saw value in my boot camp for 5 weeks, multi-platform, including the Ladypreneur Celebration, including a 90-day access to me and my network, including the opportunity for joint ventures, including the Facebook group private access, including the LinkedIn bootcamp, including the How to Monetize That $1 Million Idea training series. If you saw value at 1997, what are you thinking now at 997? What are you thinking about the difference between where you like your business to be, where it is right now, and finally having a guide, finally having a vehicle to get to where you'd like to be? I don't do the hard sell, so I'll let the information speak for itself. But if you would finally like to get some organized results to all your efforts, all the things that you put in, if you finally like to know when I might be able to quit my job and be able to focus on this full time, when you finally like to know what to do about the then what, now that you've come up with that great idea, something that you know how to do, and you want to monetize it, this is how. So to finally get to where you'd like to be versus where you are right now, the difference between that is $997. Okay, no more questions, she says. I'm ready to get serious about my business and do what I need to get started on my sales funnel. So what are you waiting on? One question, ladies, ladypreneurs. Are you ready to be open for business? I am Marcus Carter. I am the Gold Mentor, and I look forward to making a connection. I look forward to possibly being a part of your journey to you finally starting to make the money that you like to make in your business, to you finally being able to help people the way you know that you can help people, to you finally living a life of your own design. I tell everyone I come in contact the same thing, so I'll share it with you. You are the change that you've been waiting for. Look forward to talking to you soon.